That's strange. My webcam is showing me. Let's see.
Oh, there we are.
There we go.
Oh, we see an elbow. We see an elbow.
Better?
Well,
Much
now we
better.
see your chest.
All
Yeah,
right,
drop down a bit.
today I'm not going to be the focus. I'm
that
going
a
to try and keep my
snake?
face out of this. But today I have with me about 9 different animals that I keep. In total, I have about 18 different animals that I keep. But we don't have that much time, so I'm going to try and keep this moving here. So
Maybe just show us your face for a second so that everybody knows who's talking.
just
to
once. I'm also dealing with a at-home quarantine haircut. So, but hi, Daniel Scotty. I work with the infrastructure team with Virginia, David, and crew. But I'm gonna get this kicked off because I have quite a few animals here. But always keeping things interesting over here. Things are always exciting. Always getting new animals, and I just recently got 2 new animals this morning. So one of the 2 animals that I got this morning is actually in my hands, and it is, I'm not sure if you can see it, but it is the smallest snake that I currently own. And the only really interesting thing about this snake is that it is all black. It is like midnight black, you can say. And only reason that's interesting is because not many snakes have that. They usually have all different types of patterning, and that's just to so they can hide in the wild. Not many places in the world are pitch black, so definitely an interesting snake. So I'm just going to get moving along right here, just to the other ones and bigger ones that you can actually see a little easier. I'll mix it up a little. So I'll go from the smallest one that I have to one of the
What
bigger
kind
ones.
of snake is it, Daniel?
So that is called a Mexican black king snake. There's a bunch of different varieties of king snakes from all over the world, but that is from North America, and it's a Mexican black king snake. So up next, what I have here is usually the more common pet snake that you'll see people have, a corn snake. Only difference is that this corn snake has 2 different mutations in it, which makes it completely white, and it gives it pure red eyes. So it is an albino, and it is also what they call a axanthic corn snake. And this is kind of as big as you will see them. As you can see, he's got a pretty good size on him. And males get bigger than females, which is usually unusual with snakes. Usually females get much, much bigger, only because since snakes lay eggs, and they lay a lot of eggs, the females need to get considerably bigger than the males. But this guy's very cool.
Are all of these going to be snakes? Because I might have to log off.
I have about 8 snakes here and 1 gecko. If you'd like, I can do the gecko next.
No, I'm kidding. It's okay. I'm good.
Is there anything cute and fuzzy coming up? You know, like whiskers, ears, fuzzy something.
Fortunately,
There was before he got the
they don't
snakes.
allow anything.
the snake ate everything else.
Yep. Including the fiance. No. So unfortunately, where I'm from, they don't. Where I live, they don't allow dogs, and the only thing that they allow are cats, which my fiance is extremely allergic to. So I kind of went with everything else that's possible. I have snakes, geckos, fish. I have a turtle. Recently had a frog that I gave to a friend, but I got a little.
You have a fiance and she allows that?
Oh, if you heard the things that I've gotten away with these reptiles in the past year, you'd be surprised that she's still with me. People often ask, have any of your reptiles escaped? And I often say, you mean this month or in general? Because usually I have 1 escapee a month. They find little ways every day to get out of their cages, even though they have mansions for cages. And every now and then, I've never had a bad experience of waking up to go to the bathroom and there being a snake waiting for me there. I'm usually very observant, and I can tell within 10-15 minutes when they've escaped their tanks. But,
Do you have any poisonous snakes?
actually, good question, and I was actually about to bring up my next one here. It's not venomous in, I won't say in any way, because that wouldn't be true. It's what they call rear fang venomous, and let's see. This guy's a little bit of a pain. He's never bitten me once in his life, but he sure likes acting like he's going to one day. And he mimics 3 different snakes. He mimics a cobra, and a few other poisonous snakes. And let's see, no hissing today. So this is what we call a hognose snake. They have these cute little, I'm not sure if you can see, cute little noses that make them look like little piggies.
Aw.
And they kind of look and feel like a rattlesnake. And so, like I was saying before, they're called rear fang venomous snakes. And so regular venomous snakes have two fangs in the front of their mouth, which will immediately shoot venom into whatever they're biting. Rear fangs, on the other hand, have two regular teeth in the front, and then in the very back of their mouth, they have two fangs that are kind of pointing in the wrong direction. You almost want to say they're pointing towards the front of the mouth. And in order for that venom to come out, they kind of need to sit there and chew for about 15 minutes. So unless you're going to let this tiny little snake chew on you for 15 minutes, you're not going to get any venom. And like I said, once he's in your hand, he's kind of a wimp and doesn't really bite. Or has never bitten, is a better way of saying it. But yeah, only closest thing to a venomous snake. Not going to get anywhere closer to anything else. I enjoy living, and I want to have a...
Yeah, my brother-in-law's a herpetologist, and he had cobras and rattlesnakes and all kind of strange
I have
stuff.
great respect for people that keep them. I think they're very cool. It's just not something we'll be doing anytime soon. All right, so let's see.
I'm just envisioning one of these things getting out and crawling into bed with your wife. See how she reacts to that one. I mean, with your fiance.
After like the sixth times one of the snakes escaped, we've started keeping the bedroom door closed at night just in case. So yeah, we're not taking any chances over here.
Can't they get under the door, between the door and the floor?
We actually have one of those like little draft blockers, so like that the draft can't get through the door, so we have that block. But
On the plus side, I doubt you have any mice.
definitely not.
Not live ones.
Exactly, not like
I try the same thing and try to keep my kids out of my room. Hasn't worked out. Somehow they make their way in.
Those pesky phones. All right, so just give me one moment. So these other snakes are much larger, and because of that,
Oh my God, there's more.
As long as we
And
don't
this is
use
what
her
makes
name
him
in the
happy.
background.
This is what makes him happy.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Tom. I mean, I liked the food presentation once. They make me hungry, but now I'm, oh God, what is that?
So this is, I have a selection of what they call ball pythons. Ball pythons are a type of python, but for some reason, ball pythons have so many different colors and different patterns that there's over 100,000 different possibilities that you can get out of them. So the market is absolutely insane for these things right now. They go from anywhere from $20 to, if you got the newest morph out there, they can go up to $150,000. So these are full-time jobs for some people. Some people are making absolute killings just having their snakes breed, and it's definitely an interesting time. But this is one of my 4 ball pythons, and this is what they called a piebald ball python. And as you can see, it is just a very, very, very white snake. When they're born, they can have any percentage of white versus pattern on them. It can go anywhere from 5%, which is about what you see here, 5% pattern, up to 100%, which is kind of boring in my opinion. It kind of just looks like a regular snake, and they're still worth hundreds of dollars for something regular looking. But
What do you feed them?
So, out of safety for the snakes and for the mouse, what they found is that feeding already dead. So they killed the mice and rats in groups, and then they deep freeze them for months. So it kills any of the parasites that are in the rats or mice. And then they get shipped out to, all over the world. And then once you're ready to use them, what you do is you take a bucket of water and you just throw the mouse in there for 2 hours. You can, throw it in, walk it away. And 2 hours later, it's good to go. And some of them can tell the difference, but a majority can't really tell the difference between live and dead. Most of them are just so ready to eat that they don't really ask questions.
This is absurd.
Do all these snakes get along?
Sorry.
My fiance is joining now.
I think your fiance just made the comment that we all are thinking in some way.
God bless you and
They say God bless.
Run.
run quickly.
For the most part, she
If that was her, I'd tell you to move and find a place that allows dogs.
Kick your ass to the curb so fast.
All right, give me one moment, and I'm gonna go grab my little gecko friend that I have with me. We'll go for one non-snake here.
But $100,000 for a snake? Wow.
Oh, geckos are awesome. If you guys have never played with one, they're incredible.
You couldn't pay me $100,000 to own a snake.
I'm hearing investment opportunity.
But a gecko.
Yeah.
Nor a gecko.
Oh, geckos are awesome. They're amphibians. They're not reptiles.
It's a lizard.
It's
you
not
have
a lizard,
one?
actually. No, I don't have
Alice?
one, but I used to play with them in college because, like I said, my brother-in-law is a herpetologist and he was a biology professor. So we used to go herp hunting.
Oh my gosh.
And I found salamanders and geckos in the wild. It was pretty fun.
Ew.
So
I don't like salamanders. They jumped on me when I was a kid.
salamanders are creepy. I'll even agree with that one. But here is my little leopard gecko, Francis. I'm gonna turn him around here so you can kind of see what he looks like. But leopard geckos are kind of really what I started with in terms of reptiles. And I originally started this as a kind of a way to make a little extra money. I originally purchased Francis and 2 female leopard geckos. And within my first summer, I had 35 babies, which was way too many babies to handle. And I luckily was able to sell all of them, make some good money. But after that first year and after the pure amount of babies that these guys can create, I decided to stop breeding them just because it was a little too much. But I wasn't going to bring her out just because she loves biting and pooping all over me. But I have another type of gecko called a gargoyle gecko, which is more of a jumpy type gecko. But they're another very, very beautiful gecko and another gecko that's going for a lot of money these days. And luckily, my female has been producing eggs this past 2 years. And they make about 20 eggs a year, and each egg can be worth between $200 and $300. So definitely some good money behind these little guys if you're willing to take care of them.
And they'll save you 15% on your car insurance.
I was wondering who's going to crack the Geico jokes.
I even have Geico, so I'm dedicated.
How long do they live, Daniel?
So these geckos generally live between 10 to 25 years. You're looking more around like 10 to 15 realistically. But in the wild, they only live about 8 to 10. So it really shows how, like in captivity, they really survive much better than unfortunately they do in the wilds. Hoping that I have a little Francis here when I have kids someday, because leopard geckos definitely make a good children's pet. As you can see, he has no issues with me rubbing his chin. He's always giving me kisses and stuff. So he's definitely the closest thing that I have to a dog right now.
That's so cute.
Daniel, does all your animals have names? Do you name all the animals?
For the most part, some of them are not work appropriate to say. But this is Francis here. Most of them have basic little Italian names. This went with Francis because I live over near Francis Lewis Boulevard in Queens. So that's how he got his name. But let's see. You know what? I think I'll end it off here with just one more snake, and I'll get my the biggest, chunkiest one I got. So just give you one more.
Do your snakes, are they all kept separately?
All of them are kept separately. The only times you're really allowed to keep them together is if you're breeding, or the only snake that I know of that you can keep together full time are garter snakes that you would see out in the wild, like upstate. For some reason, they get along together well. All the other snakes will just kind of eat each other if you give it enough time. So let me just grab this other guy. Francis, you chill. Okay.
I'm scared.
As I said, Sam, your hairless cat's starting to look good to me.
That's funny.
So I think when they cryogenically freeze the mice, they lose their hair also. That's an Austin Powers reference.
Really?
That's just nasty.
All right, so this guy is similar to the other snake that I was showing you before, the white snake. This is another bull python. This is another male, just a different color variation, but this is kind of the chunkiest python that I have. Coming in at about 4 feet and is eating like medium to large rats every 2 weeks. So he's definitely putting on weight, and he's the one snake that I've ever bred with. I no longer have the female. I sold it to a friend who's much more into the breeding reptile game than I am. He took over that one, but this is the only father that I have out of my collection. He produced part of the help of producing 2 little babies last year, and so yeah, these guys are really great. Most people hate to hear it when I say it, but if I had to recommend a single pet, it would be a snake. They take the least amount of care out of any animal that I've ever had to care for, and had to care for dogs, cats, all types of things like that. But snakes really, I think, are the winner here. You only really need to, if it came down to it, you would only really need to care for them once a week. You feed them 1 to 2 times a week. Some snakes can go up to 2 months without eating. The white snake that I showed you earlier last year went a total of 8 months without eating and somehow didn't lose any weight. So they're definitely a very, very, very low maintenance pet, as long as they have fresh water and you kind of clean up after their bathroom area every now and then. They're kind of don't really have to do much with them. You can kind of just put them in a display tank and kind of just enjoy them. But,
So how long can the snake get?
this
How big?
snake here, he's not going to get much bigger. This is kind of as big as he's going to get. Maybe over the next 2 years, he'll get another 6 inches to a foot on him. But yeah, this is kind of as big as the males get. On the other hand, like I said before, the females get much bigger. Back when I had a bunch of females, a majority of them were between 6, 7, 8 foot. So they're twice the size of this guy and much thicker. So I'm a much bigger snake.
So Daniel, I have one more question. Do they do any tricks?
Not yet. I'm hoping that they're gonna learn how to do my taxes one day, but baby steps.
Has that one ever bitten you before?
So this one has been. Well, so there's a kind of different things like with bites with snakes. They have 3 different things. They have something where they launch at you and they don't open their mouth. They kind of just hit you with their nose, and it's kind of like a get out of here. I don't want to deal with you right now. Then there's they jump at you with their mouth open and they kind of like pinprick you, but then they don't hold on to you. And then there's the third where they jump at you and then they latch around your arm and they don't let go. I've never had an experience like that last one. I've only had where the first 2 where they either just kind of bump me with their nose or they kind of just open their mouth a little. The worst bite that I've ever got, it looked like someone had pricked me with a needle. It was from this guy right here, and stopped the bleeding after 10 seconds. So no major worries. My only major worry at the moment is the second snake that I got today. I did not bring it out. It is my first boa constrictor. It is still a baby. But I tried handling it earlier, and it hissed at me and opened its mouth. So I took that as a warning as to maybe try again another day. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Daniel, do you have a wedding date set yet?
Well, we did have a wedding date. unfortunately, with the whole virus right now, we're not even sure if that's going to happen. But we haven't postponed anything. It's in August, so we're keeping it in August and just keeping our fingers crossed at the moment.
Yeah, sure.
That's
Keep
great.
blaming her on COVID.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say you got to turn the fiance into the wife before she she wakes up and looks around.
Oh, no, every day she's
how
like,
you
this
know?
is ridiculous.
How you know they're hungry? I mean, you said like well, sometimes they need to eat once a 2 months, sometimes 8, 8 months.
So you can usually I can sometimes tell when just by walking past the tank, if they kind of give me more of a reaction of just passing by, that usually kind of gives me the idea that they're on the hunt, they're looking for something. Sometimes they don't show it at all, and you kind of have to force feed them like that they're a picky child. I've had snakes before where they won't eat unless I rub the mouse on their bellies for 5 minutes, and then after 5 minutes of belly rubs, they're like, screw it, we're going for it, and they take it. So sometimes there's really just no signs of if they're hungry or not. You kind of just have to hope they are and go for it.
Wow.
So always keep things interesting.
Hey, Daniel, do you need to be licensed to own or to breed these snakes?
With all the snakes that I owned, I don't need any licenses. There's a few snakes that I want to own in the future that I'm definitely going to need some licenses for. The whole selling thing, I'm sure New York State would have a few words about, taxes on things that I've sold. But they're usually pretty not too picky about, people breeding reptiles. As far as I know, for selling at the legit reptile shows that come around New York, all you have to do is buy a $50, $100 table at the show, and that's pretty much all you need.
Gotcha.
Daniel, my son has a question. His question is, what do snakes stand for? He said, like dogs stand for loyalty. What does snakes stand for?
I mean, that's a very good question. I mean, I think that depends who you ask, because I think in some places snakes are seen as a form of health. They like a symbol for health and prosperity, and then in some religions they're known to be the devil. So I think it really depends who you ask on that one.
Oh yes, there's a medical symbol that has snakes, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. And I never noticed it until I was reading. I actually Googled that question, like what do snakes symbolize? And that was one of the things that came up. The medical symbol has the snakes on it, and I never noticed that there were snakes in that symbol until I read that.
Cool.
How did you get interested in snakes?
I think I already had turtles and other like fish and things like that in the past. I've always just been a very big fan of animals. But I think just watching a YouTube video one day, I saw somebody, and they must have been a 12, 13-year-old kid, and the kid didn't even seem fazed that he was holding a snake. And at this point, holding a snake was not something that would have even crossed my mind. And this is only 4 years ago. And I think I just started watching more videos and, kind of seeing about the different variations of species and colors and things like that. And, saw that it wasn't too crazy expensive to buy them. So I bought one, and it never ended.
Cool. Daniel, thanks so much. I'm sure people have many, many, many other questions. I know that I personally have a 3:30 I got to get to, so I'm gonna leave. But thanks so much, and thanks everyone for joining once again.
Thanks, Daniel. That was amazing.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Daniel. If anyone has emails,
Thanks, Daniel.
snakes@edibles.com, that goes to Daniel.
Daniel.
Awesome.
Thanks, Daniel.
Later,
Thanks,
guys.
buddy.
No problem. Enjoy your day, everybody.
Take it easy.
Thanks, Daniel.
Thanks.